Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, what we are going to do is look at the story of a family. And just look at how lovely they can be. I am, joking. The esteemed Tyburskis are our best buds in this video, a noble lineage hailing from Ohio. The family, they had their own trials and tribulations, some self-inflicted, others not so much. You had a Daryl, his wife Janet, and their 3 daughters, Shelly, Hannah, and Megan. That is what you had, but it's not what you have, so sure we may as well give it a go. Time now for Mike's mandatory, geography lesson, right? That's what they say. You come for the crime, you stay for the geography, you leave for the humor. North Ridgeville is not north of South Ridgeville. If there is no South Ridgeville, why not just call it Ridgeville? I want that. What you might also want is some football helmets, and that's where Rachelle has a big old factory making them. North Ridgeville is not far from Cleveland and is home to 35,000 people. It's a fast-growing city surrounded by everything you need. Without the stuff you don't. It is a very safe city, one of the safest in Ohio. But sure, go on, let's talk about one case that, impacted those stats. It began just after 1 p.m. on Sunday, the 15th of March, 2015. The weather was cold, snow was in the air, and near Victory Park in North Ridgeville, a call was made. A property owner was checking on his property on Victory Lane. He had just had some work done, and when he was out for a wander, beside a small snow bank lay a body. She was lying face down, nude from below the waist.
911, what is your emergency?
Looks like a dead body laying here. Looks like a woman. I'm at the end of Victory Lane in North Ridgeville.
Upon inspection by the authorities, it seemed evident that blunt force trauma to the head was the most likely cause of death. But there was really nothing to give it away as to what happened to her. Sexual motivation seemed likely at the time, but what was interesting later was that it seemed that blunt force trauma had not killed her. In fact, when the autopsy was done, the coroner said that she hadn't been beaten enough to have died from it. He couldn't exactly tell what killed her. He would keep, diving in there, but suffocation probably was most likely. But that was not the only mystery that began that Sunday afternoon. They had no idea who she was. Her fingerprints revealed nothing, didn't show up on any kind of database, no ID, no record, didn't match any missing persons reports. She'd been dead for about 24 to 48 hours. She'd probably been dumped there as there was no scene at the park. There were no other indications of any kind of event taking place there. The event being murder. Likely she'd been dumped as the Ohio Turnpike goes right by the park. Perhaps she'd been, abducted, kidnapped. They found ligatures around her wrists. What happened, and then she was dumped. The only thing they could say was that, in hopes of getting some kind of identification, was that, she was a white woman between the ages of 18 and 35. That fucking narrows it down. About 200 pounds with Chinese characters tattooed on her arm, and a flower on her upper back. She had a number of scars on her face, and brown hair. Police don't tend to normally release, the face of the victim. In this one, it's just like Bill McGuire, if you remember that one from a couple of weeks back with Melanie McGuire. They released an image. They did this again in this case to the public in hopes somebody might, oh shit, that's her.
North Ridgeville police are taking all of the steps they can to try and identify the woman whose body was found in that field here in North Ridgeville Sunday afternoon near the Ohio Turnpike, not far from Lorraine Road. And they've taken a very rare step this afternoon at a news conference that just ended here at the police station. They actually showed us, the news media, a black and white photo of the woman's face from her autopsy today through the Lorain County Coroner's Office. Now, we have chosen not to show you that photograph tonight, although North Ridgeville police are keeping people updated to the the minute on their Facebook page. They did give us such a good description, though, we feel that could help if you know her. She's a Caucasian female, 5'9", 5'10", 200 pounds.
As I said at the top, this was North Ridgeville, a place with a non-existent murder rate. Cops ran out of options real quick as to what to do. Scattershot, and hopefully someone will recognize the poor woman. Thing is, it worked. They soon got a ring saying, yeah, I know who that is. That's my daughter.
Hello,
I just saw a picture of my daughter, and I haven't seen her since Thursday night.
Okay, what's your first name?
Janet
Okay, and your last name?
Tyburski. Oh my God.
Okay, it's okay.
Oh, this is a nightmare.
I'm sorry, what's your daughter's first name?
Rachelle.
On the phone was Janet Tyburski. Found was her daughter, 26-year-old Rachelle Shelly Tyburski. Shelly was born in 1988, older sister to Hannah and Megan, and daughter of Janet and Daryl Tyburski. Together, they had a happy little life living in Lakewood, Ohio, not far from North Ridgeville. That is until a tragedy struck. In 1999, Daryl Tyburski, he was driving along late one night. He went off the road. His car went off the road. He ended up crashing into a boat trailer in Detroit, if you can believe that, and he was killed instantly. The remaining Tyburskis, his wife and 3 daughters, had to pick up the pieces. Daryl had been a successful college football player, and after that, a successful attorney. He had a great career ahead, and that was over, and Janet became a stay-at-home mother and poured everything into raising her 3 daughters. However, after Daryl's death, things would understandably, never be the same again. Yep, Shelly began to exhibit symptoms of bipolar disorder. She began lashing out at her mother, who was already struggling with 3 daughters to raise by herself. While Hannah would be a top student, top athlete, and eventually go to Oberlin College, Shelly, her older sister, was the opposite.
Well, August 24th was... August 24th was probably one of the worst days. 10 years ago on August 24th, my father passed away. So, whatever, crap happens. Same shit every day. I learn to deal with it, But, 10 years ago, I didn't know what to do. So, I didn't cry. But I thought to myself, I gotta live on. I gotta move on. It's what he wants.
When she was young, she would be running away from home all the time, and she'd be constantly moving in and out of her mother's house. Shelly would eventually move in with a divorced musician named Tommy. That's like 4 red flags right there. He was 20 years older than Shelly. That's 5. And in 2011, she had a son with him, Cole.
I hear you knocking on my cellar door. I love you, baby, can I have some more? Gone, the damage done. I hit the city and I lost my band. I watched the needle take another man. Gone, the damage done.
That, shockingly, hold on to your butts, didn't last. Soon after, Shelly and Cole moved back in with Mama Bear Janet, after Hannah and Megan moved out and they went to college. And then, very late on the 12th of March, they were a happy little family, living in this house together, Janet, her daughter Shelly, and her grandson Cole. It came to an abrupt end when Janet said Shelly left that night, and she never saw her again. Janet didn't report her daughter missing as she assumed she was out doing what she had done before, and she would come back eventually. That was until she saw the news.
Police say family members identified 26-year-old Rachelle Tyburski after seeing media reports. This is a photo her family just released to News Channel 5. Her body was found in a field off Victory Lane in North Ridgeville Sunday afternoon. Police say she had been dead 24 to 48 hours before her body was found.
And so the police went to speak with Janet and Hannah. Hannah had come back from college because, well, Shelly had been acting out a lot lately. She'd been going through a bad time. And it turned out she had reignited, the flame with her old spark, Tommy.
2:30, it would have been Thursday and Friday morning. Okay. Mom, I'm going to Tommy's. Tommy's picking me up. Okay.
Did you see her leave on Thursday night?
I heard her leave.
You know if Tommy's been in any trouble or anything?
Yeah, I think so. The ex-wife has the restraining order placed on it.
Okay.
He does have a weapon in his apartment.
Good.
Scared.
Janet said he was bad news. He had been involved with the police from time to time and liked to party hard. Liked a few sips, maybe more than a few. Hannah too confirmed that Shelly had gone to Tommy's that night. That's where they believed she had gone. And word from there was that he could be, from time to time, a little bit more free with his hands than he should be. Janet said she heard a car pull up outside their house, assumed it was Tommy, and that's where she went. So police went to speak with him at his place in Cleveland. But Tommy said he hadn't spoken to Shelly since that Thursday night when Shelly's family said she left. He had tried calling her over the next day or two and got nothing.
My last communication with her was about 8:30 on Thursday night. And she was supposed to call me Friday morning and she never did. Now that's the same time you say that Janet told you guys that I picked her up at 2 in the morning. And I never did. And
so he just ended up drinking all weekend. He loved a good blackout, so he did.
Well, I'm always drunk. So I'm just being honest with you. Yeah, like I said, the only reason I know it's Tuesday right now is I know it's St. Patrick's Day. All right, and I slept all day yesterday. The day before, I drank a bottle of Jack, half a bottle of Crown, and about 20 beers. So I've been in a blackout drunk for the last 4 days. She comes and goes, you know? I mean, I don't keep track of when she comes and leaves. Her and I have never had an argument, really.
You and her never had any physical confrontations or struggles or anything?
No.
I know how women are, so, I mean, sometimes they get out of hand, especially, they're drinking.
Shelly's just a handful. Look, if she don't take her medication, man, she's really kind of loopy. Look, she's a good girl, but she has serious personality disorders. She didn't have the maturity of a 26-year-old. She was more like a 14 or 15-year-old in her head. She's seen a psychiatrist regularly. Like I said, she always said a lot of stuff that was untrue.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom probably told you that she has personality disorders.
So if Shelly didn't go to Tommy's, where did she go?
She cheats on me all the time. It's a regular thing with her. Like last time she cheated on me, she met this guy, and then took off with her. I didn't know any idea where she was for 3 days. Whoever she went with picked her up off of Facebook, guarantee you. You get her mom's computer, you got to find out who she was talking to.
Following up on Shelly's social media accounts, it turned out she had in fact been messaging clickety-clacketing a few lads. But when the police followed up with each of them, there was nothing there. They were all alibied out, banned sooner that weekend. So later on, the coroner determined two things. First being was that she had in fact suffocated to death. That was the cause of death, suffocation. Second was that although she was naked when Shelly was found, she was naked below the waist and her top was pulled up, her breasts were exposed, she hadn't been sexually assaulted. And in fact, when you combine that with the fact that there was shit around her wrists, like she'd been tied up, it actually looked staged. Like someone had wanted it to make it look like what the police thought, that she had been kidnapped and, it would have been a sexual motivated, blah blah blah. It had probably been staged. And probably by someone Shelly knew well. Tommy, most likely suspect, continued to deny any involvement. And he did the old switcheroo. He said he needed to go back to the beginning and look at her family.
Dude, just the whole story that Janet's telling, man. She's leaving out. She's not telling you the whole truth. She's not telling you the whole story. There's something wrong there, I really didn't think that her mom could do something like that, man. But
things had not been good. There had been fights. In fact, in the September before, so 6 months before Shelly was dead, she had called the cops on Janet, saying she was being abusive. Not only that, Tommy said there had been a lot more trauma in Shelly's life than they knew. Even more trauma than Shelly's dad, Daryl, passing away in a car accident. Most likely it was drunk driving. He had been coming home from a party. Shelly had told Tommy that her dad, Daryl, had molested her as a kid, and Janet knew full well about it and just did fucking sweet fuck all. Now, it had been said before that Shelly made up a lot of shit. She had her own mental issues. Maybe it was just in her head. But when Tommy brought this up with Janet, she flew off the handle.
I gotta be honest, dude. She was pissed off about that whole thing. She's not being honest to you guys about the whole story, and that they were arguing about it. I just got a bad feeling about her, man. This just don't make sense. Because I know she's lying. I know it, and she knows it. You're figuring it out, but you'll see, I haven't been dishonest about anything this whole time. I told you everything.
Okay, so now you have both Janet and Tommy both denying they had anything to do with Shelly's death, and in fact both of them fucking dumb and dumber over here, pointing a finger at each other. So what the police did then was go and talk to someone who was like in between. They went to speak with Hannah, Shelly's younger sister, 19 years old and a college student. She said she hadn't seen Shelly all weekend.
And then your mom would check and leave out in the morning. Yeah. What time would you say you were here?
That's about 10.
Okay. You know what time to get out there. Get out to the front. You need to get out in front of the hospital. That's what happened.
I think it's the time I want to go home.
But she did give conflicting accounts of when she had arrived back home from Oberlin that weekend. And when they asked to see her phone, Hannah walked out.
We told him you're free to go.
I know I'm free. I want to go now.
Let me just, okay.
Just say what you have to say. It's so upsetting to hear. Just say I can leave. Buzz out.
Yeah, but understand. Okay, there's many consequences that you have to take into consideration. This is not going away, and it's not going away.
Maybe it was those closest to her after all. Next, the police got a search warrant of Janet's car, and they found blood on the door. And then finally, what the police did was they got a hold of all the surveillance footage between the Tyburski home and where Shelly had been found. And what they found was that on the morning of the 15th, which was the day Shelly had been found, like very early morning, still dark, Janet's car had driven from her home to where Shelly had been found on Victory Lane. When the blood in the car came back and matched Shelly's blood, they knew her family, probably her mother, had killed her. Janet was not having it.
Okay. We have reason to believe that Shelly never left the house.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that something happened.
Okay.
We know that something happened at the house.
Okay. What do you think? What do you
believe? Remember I told you we do, if you watch CSI and all that stuff, we do everything possible, and we try to confirm and we try to check out what people tell us and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And, and as part of that, like I said, we do the history. We do the, we pull videotape. There's houses and stuff that have video, and they can tell whether, if there's activity and stuff like that with businesses. Right. I mean, we've been scouring. I mean, you have to understand, this has been, 2 weeks?
Oh, I know you have. I'm no doubt.
And we've come to the conclusion that something happened at the house.
Okay. Do you have...
And that's why...
Do you have
That's why I want to
evidence
talk
of
to you. Well, and that's why I want to talk to you.
No, I'm probably suspect number one.
Well, like
I know it. But I didn't do anything to her. I emphatically deny.
What we know, and like I said, this is based on the evidence, what we know is that this, whatever happened to Shelly, this was done in either in anger, a fit of rage, or passion, what they call a crime of passion, whether it's love, hate.
What evidence
history.
are you able to share with me? You're saying you found evidence.
Well,
what is that evidence? That's
Janet,
what I've been waiting to hear.
Janet, the evidence is that we know something happened at the house.
But you can't tell me concretely. I'm waiting to hear what number one, what you found so far.
She left the interview and the investigation continued. The police got a search warrant, and as they arrived at her house, confronting her one more time, Janet just came out and said it.
We had to seize your vehicle.
Oh. Okay. Why did you seize?
The prosecutor believes that it was used in commission of crime.
Okay. So there's something found in the vehicle?
Yeah. Something found in the vehicle, there's something found at the crime scene.
Are you able to tell me what was found?
No. And I'm going to tell you right now, Janet, you know exactly what happened, you know what was done, and the evidence is going to tell us that. I know the truth. We know the truth. And
you tell me what you feel the truth.
No, I'm not. This isn't tell me what you have and I'll tell you the truth. This is the time. You tell me what happened.
I'm going to go ahead and confess to killing Rachelle. It has been escalating. I felt safety was definitely at risk, and I killed her on the early hours of Friday the 13th in a crime of passion.
Janet was taken in on the 5th of May. Janet said that Shelly had just become more delusional, more violent lately, and she had started to become scared for Cole, for her grandson. Not only for her grandson, but for herself too. Janet had tried to ask Shelly, for custody of Cole, and that did not go down too well at all. In fact, then Shelly just said she's going to take her son and go off with Tommy and leave Janet with swinging in the wind. According to Janet, she followed that swiftly up with, I'm just gonna fucking kill you. So Janet, not too keen on that, try to change attack. She just switched lanes real quickly, and so when Shelly was asleep that night, she went up with a pillow, and Shelly started fighting back, and they fell to the ground, and Janet started smashing her head and face into the wooden floor. And Shelly eventually stopped fighting.
After that happened, did you go to bed or did you stay up?
I went to sleep.
Janet then called Hannah and told her to come home. She asked her other daughter to help move the body of the one she killed.
That's right where I should have stopped. Hannah should have never been involved in that.
What do you think she killed him? A burden and a sort of a chaos in the house.
I guess Hannah felt she had no choice.
What do you do in the moment? I was getting angry, but I didn't. Mom's in trouble. I guess some people wouldn't ask.
While confessing, Janet called Hannah on the phone.
I just confessed to murdering Rachelle. Yeah, I did, honey. I told him, I'm telling him everything that happened. And I know that they feel that you're an accessory after the fact, though, honey. So they're going to be talking to you, okay? I love you, Hannah. And I'm sorry for involving you in this and moving her body. I'm so sorry, honey.
Way to throw your own daughter under the bus. Well, I suppose she did already prove she's such a good mother. She murdered her own daughter.
A Lakewood mother accused of doing the unthinkable, killing her own child.
And dumping the body in a field. Now as the woman appears before a judge, stunned supporters cope with the news.
To make sure I have an attorney, I'd like to request a court-appointed attorney.
Janet Tyburski showed no emotion and acted very calm during her video arraignment before a judge this morning. North Ridgeville police arrested Janet Tyburski yesterday at her Lakewood home. The same place where investigators tell me this mom suffocated her daughter to death on Friday, the 13th of March.
Janet's defense when it came to trial was that it was in self-defense, that she'd been backed into a corner by Shelly. Like an abusive relationship, Interesting. Okay, she was just getting so violent, so dangerous. I had no choice but to kill her. Yeah, why not? But a little bit more investigating showed that, Janet didn't work. Right, she was a full-time mad bastard instead, and so she'd gone into debt. Her house was not going to be her house for much longer. The bank was sending her angrier and angrier letters. So, like a gambler, didn't she just happen to put a few bob on Shelly that she might accrue if she died? Some may call it life insurance. I call it pretty much like every motive ever, to the point I don't even have to say it anymore. I can just do the...
Were you familiar with the life insurance policy you must get your sister?
And so, knowing that the prosecution knows this, Janet took a plea deal. The deal allowed Hannah to avoid a prison sentence. Hannah Tyburski pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of gross abuse of a corpse, and for that she was given a 90-day suspended jail sentence and ordered to pay a $750 fine. Janet was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 19 years.
It's something I have to live with, and I'm so sorry to everybody.
And Sinead. That's the end of that one. Pretty messed up family. Kind of reminds me of the Stouty one all over again, only instead of poisoning, she just fucking suffocated. With the old pillow trick, you know. Janet wanted control over Shelly. She thought she was expendable and a loose cannon, who she just would rather not be around anymore. But she wanted to come off as, hey, I'm the real victim here. I put her out of her misery. Crime of passion, crime of sympathy for her grandson. She just wanted to save her grandson. Nope. She wanted her daughter gone so her life would be easier and richer. Pretty much psychopath, true and true. Classic case though of, ooh, poor me though. Now give me life insurance, baby, I want it. Now she's gonna be wanting a hell of a lot more than that, let me tell you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate taking the time to watch this whole video with this guy doing this move. Don't know why. Sure, why not? Here, listen, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next one. The next whole video, which will be new until it's not, and that'll be old. I don't know what I'm talking about either, but anyways. Listen, please, take care of yourselves. I love you. Mike out.